Hey viewers, guess what? Open Up with Malindi is back every Thursday, 5 p.m. Do not forget to like, to share, to subscribe, and to comment. God bless you. Greetings and welcome to another episode of Open Up with Umalindi Wagasimelane. Today we are talking all things Umjolo in the church and its pain. It's going to be quite interesting. I'm not alone. My guest is going to introduce herself. Thank you so much for being part of the show. Welcome to Open Up with Umalindi.
Sanmunan nonke emakhaya, igama Lerato Mloto. I am an author, motivational speaker, and founder of Beauty of the Mind Foundation. I grew up and I was bred here in Witbank. Thank you for having me on your show. It's an honor and a privilege. Thank you.
So, Lerato, you and I are talking all things Umjolo in the church or as a Christian lady. How old were you when you started to jola in the church?
Okay, so I started dating in the church when I was 13. Okay, so here I was being umngani kamntwana mfundisi. So obviously you get first hand of everything. You are hands on in the church.
Yes.
So I sang in the worship team,
At the age of 13.
At the age of 13, yes. So it happened that I dated umuntu who was also in the worship team, and bekahlala kamfundisi. Bengasumntwana mfundisi but bekahlala mfundisi.
Okay.
And umfundisi found out, and umfundisi saw it, and other people saw it as statutory rape. And I remember when my parents found out, it broke their hearts.
Sure.
It broke their hearts because number one, I am one child. Ebathembele kuwe ukuthi, you know what, if you mess up this whole life thing, and then asazi ukuthi which child, So unfortunately, that whole issue was handled in a very messy manner because I was the one who was kicked out of the worship team. But ubhuti yena waqhubeka wadlala ama-keys and ubemdala nakimi. So abanye bebazothi he should have known better, but that's how it happened. That was my first encounter of a mess happening in the church.
Okay.
Nomjolo.
So your first relationship, Njevele, it was a mess.
Yeah.
So at the age of 13, dating an older guy, did you have that body of mhlambe 15-year-old, 16-year-old, or you looked very young, but you still went for that guy?
No, I had a body. I've always had a body which is older than my age.
Okay.
So, nginganisile kodwa ngimtshela ukuthi I am 16 and he believed it.
Okay.
So when he later found out my age, it was already a mess.
Okay.
So I think it was my body which worked in my favor at that time.
Okay. So at that age, you're 13, you're in the worship team. Obviously, we would think Uguti, you were living a life of prayer because you were part of the Levites in the church. So would you say you prayed about this relationship or it was just nje ugusa komntwana?
I think it was ugusa komntwana because at that time I think even being in the worship team, if you were to ask me to go and be in the worship team now, I'd refuse, because I feel like I was not called to be in the worship team.
Okay.
I just did it because Umtana Mfundis, who's my friend, was doing it, and I wanted to be busy in the church.
Yes,
so I wasn't called to be in the worship team.
Okay, so it was just good. I'm doing it for my friend.
Yeah.
Mina nomgani, buddy
Yeah.
buddies. And then you break up with a guy. It's a mess. You keep growing up, and then did you date again?
I did. Another
Okay.
mess in the church.
Okay. We'll be dealing with a lot of mess today.
Okay, so now I was now 15 years old. I then happened to date a married guy.
Okay.
Also in the church, but not in the same church as ours, but he used to come to our church and play during a conference. Nan, yabo.
Okay.
So I date this guy. Again, parents find out. Again, it's a mess. But fortunately, his wife didn't find out. But with this guy, it was because I feel like he was what I needed at that time. I wanted love that my older friends were getting, and I was getting from this married guy. So unfortunately, he was married, and it was in the church again. So yeah, that mess, my parents again didn't handle it too well. I had disappointed them again, but this time it was more of no man, let's not be too disappointed or sikwatele, but they handled it better and still continue trusting me after that. However, umama was like, please mntwana, don't ever date a married guy. And I learned my lesson from that day.
So did you know the guy was married?
I didn't know. To us, uma simbuza ngalo muntu ebenaye, he'd say that no, uma mumtwana, nakhona ngimlobolanga, ngimane ngahlawula umntwana. That's what he'd say.
So he wasn't wearing his wedding ring.
No, he wasn't.
Okay. So I take it he was old.
Yeah, he was.
Sure. Okay. It's very tricky, and how did you come out of that? Because I also dated a married man at some point in my life, and coming out of that, even after the relationship and all, but having to go back to God after that was one of the hardest thing I've ever had to go through in my life. And if there's one thing I don't ever want to see myself doing, is dating a married man. What do you feel has been the price that you paid for being with a married man?
I lost myself. It was when I got diagnosed with depression. And then it was when I started taking antidepressants behind my family's back. That's when I realized, girl, you've lost yourself.
Sure.
So for me, it cost me my mental health at that fragile and young age I was at.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sure. Take us through your journey with depression, because this is a reality of a lot of young people who go through rejection. And in our black society, we don't believe in rejection. Once a person goes through rejection situthakathiwe. Ayuthakathiwe rona amademon, and we want to cast the demons out and stuff. How did you, I know that you had to treat yourself behind your parents' back, but how was that journey of depression?
That journey, I think it was helped by me being a child who writes things down.
Okay.
I started writing down my feelings. I started, writing down everything. And after taking my antidepressants, I went to therapy. Fortunately enough, my therapist at that time was umuntu okholwayo. So I still carry this verse that she gave me till today. She wrote down for me Jeremiah 29 verse 11, because I had told her that, I tried to commit suicide so many times and it's not happening. The first time I remember I drank ichik, I mixed it with water. Nothing happened. Second time I overdosed pills. Nothing happened again. That's why I flew. Then the third time I cut myself. I just bled. Nothing happened.
Sure.
So she wrote me that verse to remind me, Guti, listen, God is in control.
Amen.
That's when I learned to Guti, as young as I am, God is in control. I learned to pray. In my journey with depression at that young age, the only thing I could do was to pray, because I was in a state whereby I could not tell my parents that, listen, mama, I'm depressed. So that's what I did until I stopped taking my pills, because she said, listen, you can't keep doing this behind your parents' back. It's time we tell them. And then I ran away from sessions with her.
Sure.
And I stopped taking medication.
So at the tender age of 15, you had already tried to kill yourself thrice.
Yes.
Sure. That must have been a journey. Let me take you back a bit. Maybe as a child growing up, were you ever raped, or was there a need in your life for love?
I wouldn't say there was a need in in my life for love, but a small almost sexual incident happened when I was 4 years old, and I went to live in a safe home with a white family.
Okay.
So yeah, with that happened, I still replay my mom crying in the social worker's office, asking the social workers not to take me, you know. So yeah, at that tender age of 4 years, I was already broken, or it was the epitome of me being broken, till later on in life I'd now have to go back and deal with that young girl who was broken.
Wow, that must have been um, something hectic. Were you raped or almost raped?
Almost raped.
But it affected you.
Yes, it
You know,
did.
it's funny because our journey is almost quite similar. So it's like I'm sitting with a younger version of myself. Yeah. You know, I tried to kill myself so many times. Like, you're getting me all emotional because I'm like, you're naive, you know? But now, after that relationship with the married man, and now you continue, and your parents want to trust you, they want to believe in you. And before we get to that, I just want to find out if the whole depression season and time, did it not affect you with your studies?
It did a bit because I was now dropping. I got
Okay.
to high school in grade 8. I got to top 10. I was that student. But now in grade 9, I'm now being diagnosed with depression. My marks dropped. I saw myself now starting to get marks I'm not familiar with. So yeah, it did affect me with my academics a
Sure,
lot.
sure. After married guy, after depression, did you date again?
Yes, I did.
Okay, take us through that.
Okay, so after a married guy, I then met another guy in grade 10 now. In
Okay.
grade 10. That guy, I being like social media. So one day we just came across each other face to face. She's like, I like you. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We start dating. It's okay. I am seeing traits of emotional abuse, gui, but I'm ignoring that.
Sure.
I continue dating him. Like, it becomes a roller coaster of breaking up, making up, breaking up, making up. Grade 11, grade 12, we dating until I went to varsity to do my first year, and we were not dating anymore because I had told myself that, you know what, I think it's time I must be done with this person if I want to be a better version of myself. But however, if he was to come back to me, he still had that thing with he, you know what, mangbuyela lerato uzongfuma, and it was like that until an incident happened, and I had to sit down with myself and say, listen, you are done with this guy. You are done. And till today, when I see him, I don't feel anything anymore than it was when before the incident, when I'd feel something when I see him. But now it's just, oh, okay, yeah, I'm done.
Lerato, before we break, were you engaged sexually with these guys
Yes, I
from
was.
that tender age of 13?
Yes.
Okay. We are talking all things Umjolo, right, in the church as a Christian girl. We will be right back. Hey viewers, guess what? Open Up with Malindi is back every Thursday, 5 p.m. p.m. Do not forget to like, to share, to subscribe, and to comment. God bless you.